Dude, this was a really fucking weird week. This whole curse of the number one seed thing is getting out of hand. A catchier name? Why? I like it because you know exactly what it is. Well, do you have any suggestions? Ooh, that's a good one. Okay, let's go with that. Script it in, and let's go!
Are you ready?
I'm just Jim. Welcome to episode 14 of the Fantasy Football Monsters. It's your boy Von Murder here, and we have a great show for you today. But first, let me introduce the Zorak to my space ghost, Jimmy.
You are in a peculiarly good mood today, all factors considered.
What do you mean?
You lost. Again.
And there's something I can do about that? No. But what I can do is bring in the third of our trio, Morty.
Thank you for understanding my not wanting to participate when Joe was on last week. I'm still having PTSD from my first encounter with him. Those things were unspeakable.
Like what?
I said unspeakable. Just move on.
So yeah, I lost and I'm 8-2 now. I kept it close, but variance got me. I knew for quite some time that week 10 could be a problem. Losing Tyreek wasn't the problem since he was on bye anyway, but having AJ and Jalen also on bye was a bit too much since I didn't have a second QB.
Interesting choice, putting in Jay Judy instead of Christian Kirk.
Yeah, in truth, that was a fuck up. It was supposed to be a Monday night flex that could move into something else if I wanted to in a situation where Steele was guaranteed. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. And if I had played Kirk, I 100% would have lost. So at least it gave me some Monday night hope, even if it did mean Judy would need 42 and he got less than 6. The steal went better than I expected it to, though. He took Etienne and gave me Brian Robinson. This actually helped solve the upcoming issue that with Etienne coming back this week, I had 5 top 16 RBs that I wanted to play. And if I used my Superflex on a quarterback, then I would have had to sit one each week. Now I don't have that issue anymore. I was concerned he might actually try to take Devontae, who seems to be getting his groove back, or God forbid, Lamar Jackson. Even though he's had some bad weeks lately, I still think he's a league winner, and I would have been incredibly sad if I had lost him.
So let's look at something a little more cheery. I saw that you qualified for the Scott Fish Bowl playoffs.
Yes, I did. It was a rough start going 3-7, but I've won all 10 matchups the last 5 weeks and was the top scorer 4 of the 5 weeks. With 13 wins, it's time to go for that title.
How can you get 10 wins in 5 weeks?
This format is a little weird, but I like it. You essentially play 2 matches a week. One's against your opponent, the other's against the median. So if you beat your opponent, that's 1 win. If your score is amongst the top 6 in the league, that's the 2nd win. So it's not too uncommon for someone to go 1-1 on the week because they had a good score, but an unlucky opponent score higher, or you had a bad week and your opponent had a worse one. In my case, every week was either a double win or double loss, except week 3, when I had the 5th highest score, but my opponent had the 2nd highest.
That league is huge. The winner's gotta get something sweet.
Yep. Sweet satisfaction and likely a high five. That's it. Scott Fishbowl supports Fantasy Cares. The whole league is charity. Doing well is good for some prestige, but there isn't like a prize. Trophy Smack might give the winner something, I don't know, but it's not like money or anything. Doesn't matter. I'm doing it to prove something to myself, not win something.
That's a fantastic outlook on things. Well done.
Well, speaking of playoffs, that's our topic for the day. Depending on your league and format, they are starting soon. Most will start week 15 for leagues that have 6 or 8 person playoffs, or week 16 if you have 4 person playoffs. But there are lots of different formats too. Frankenstein starts week 14, Scott Fishbowl starts week 12. I'm even in a league where they start this upcoming week 11. No matter when they start, it is imperative that you are ready for them.
Now, for some people, this could be a luxury. If you're fighting tooth and nail to even make the playoffs, that has always got to be your first goal. But if you're in a league where you know you're good, it's time to start looking at your roster and getting it ready for that title run.
Remember, in most leagues, it doesn't matter if you even went undefeated in the regular season. One loss and you're done in the playoffs. So everyone needs to get prepared. Now, you have some matchup-proof players like Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Christian McCaffrey, and Jalen Hurts, where their matchup basically doesn't matter. You're starting them. But for many fringe players, this may not be the case.
Because of how varied the playoffs are, we're not going to cover all the weeks. But since week 15 is the most common playoff starting week, we will look at some sleepers you can consider targeting now, and some other every week players you might want to consider sitting.
First example of a sit would be Kenneth Walker III. At an average of RB11, he usually is good to fire up, but he goes against the Eagles, which is tops against the run this year.
The only running back to get 100 yards against the Eagles this year was Brian Robinson. And that's only because he had 2 games to get there. And even then, he only had 104. His single game high of 59 was the most they've given up in any single week. Statistically speaking, he's probably in for a fucking rough game. So if you have other options, that would be a good thing to look at.
On the other end, a good place to look if you need a wide receiver would be the Lions. Now, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta will definitely be taken, but players like Josh Reynolds, Jameson Williams, Khalif Raymond, or even the newly acquired Donovan Peoples-Jones could be good to look at. They play Denver's league worst pass defense. I could easily see the scoreboard getting lit up by Jared Goff and company. Stash one of them now if you think that could be a problem later.
On the flip side, DJ Moore is amazing, and you never know when he could have an insane breakout game. But against Cleveland's league best pass defense, I wouldn't bet on it being that weak.
And against the second worst run defense in the league, in the Bucs, AJ Dillon might also be a good hole filler.
There are lots of these all over the league. My point is the same as I made a few weeks back. If you wait until the week before, you're likely to be in trouble. Figure out when your playoffs are, figure out where you might be weak due to bad matchups, and work to fill those holes now before someone else does.
Speaking of bad matchups, there were all sorts of shaking going on in the league this week, wasn't there? Who's doing the recap this week?
Why, Jimmy, it's you.
Why me? What's your game?
No game. Honestly, we're not letting Morty do it because the producer would be quite unhappy. And you think I'm really in the mood for it? Take it away.
It's week 10, and let me tell you about the curse of Icarus. Wait, what the fuck is an Icarus?
I thought this was common knowledge, but I guess not. Wolfie, break it down for them.
Icarus is a human character in Greek mythology. His father Daedalus and he escaped imprisonment by fashioning wings made from feathers, threads from clothing held together with beeswax. While getting away, Icarus was warned not to fly too high. But Icarus did not listen to his father, and he used his newly formed wings to fly high up, far too close to the sun. He got too close, causing the beeswax to melt, and Icarus fell to his death.
It's where the phrase flying too close to the sun comes from, and it means if your arrogant ass gets too much hubris, expect the fall to be swift and painful.
Kinda like you. Anyway, since week 4, every single time a team has become the number 1 seed, they lost the next week. Well, the curse of the number 1 seed, or the curse of Icarus, continued this week with Hulk Smash being the last one to taste defeat with a 354-237 loss to Loch Ness Monster. As a matter of fact, the curse not only hit the number 1 seed, but it hit every team since week 3 to ever be a number 1 seed this year. Week 4's top seed, the curse of Medusa, tanked to Toxic Avenger 329 to 155, making Toxic Avenger the new leader in Brasco. Week 5's leader, Demogorgon, went down to Falcor 299 to 235. Week 6's leader and the person with the points lead coming into this week, Strahd Zarovich, took a 305 to 183 dive to Fantasy Slashers. Week 7's top seed, who was also week's 3 leader, Wolfman Coverage, lost to Dracula 336 to 309. And finally, Sammy Terry slipped by week's 8 leader, Von Murder, 242 to 206. Our new number 1 seed is Pennywise, whose 430 to 195 win over The Thing was our top score of the week. We'll see if the curse of Icarus continues in week 11. 18 weeks later, tried to take over the Bidet division with a 334 to 298 win over Black Eyed Children, except Dracula was Johnny on the spot, sinking his fangs into Dak Prescott, giving Black Eyed Children the 344 to 287 win. Justin's Jigsaw of Judgment took advantage of Von Murder's loss to take control of the Mummy division with a 298 to 55 win against the super tanking El Kukui. Not currently a division leader, Mick Taylor of Wolf Creek took advantage of Strahd Zaravich's dive with a 332 to 278 win over Basilbub, giving him 3,032 points on the year and the current points lead. With only 3 weeks left before the playoffs, we're going to start showing you a who's in and who's out list of the top 32 teams who would make the playoffs if the season ended today. While technically no teams have clinched spots, a few are close. Also, since there is still money on the line for it, we're tracking the points leader for the top 10 as well. Oh man, this is going to be unpredictable AF. While it looks like about a third of the participants won't have the record or point total to get into the playoffs, don't let that stop you from giving 100%. If you can't get in yourself, you can still play spoiler, and that's what we like around here. Chaos and carnage. Back to you, Von Murder.
For any of you number dorks out there, the producer went all Revenge of the Nerds on some stats. To not bog this video down too much, we're going to put out another video, which is just for the more intricate stats on the league. It's up already, or it should be. I'm sure the link will be in the description here. And Dustin, I saw you talking trash in Gilded. Yes, you've outscored me in the last 2 weeks, but I'm still 8-2, and you're still 5-5. If you want to come get some, you better keep those W's up, and we can maybe have it out in the Monster Mash.
It does appear you are indeed going to have your dance card filled for week 14, doesn't it?
I mean, yeah. There are currently 5 teams with 9 wins, and I'm only 4th in points amongst teams with 8 wins, and 8th in total points after 2 really shitty losses. On top of that, even though I handed Justin an L, I'm the only one who's handed Justin an L this year, so his 9-1 is better than my 8-2. If he just doesn't lose one of the next 3, it won't even matter what I do. I'll be locked out of top 8 seeds. His week 13 matchup is Mad Scientist, so that's a maybe. If Son of Sam stays in the upset business, maybe week 12. We'll have to see. I can only handle my shit. Right now, I have a 161 point differential I need to make up in the next 3 weeks to win the points total. So I'm going to shoot for that and let the cards fall where they may. Man, this was a pretty vanilla show. No guests, no songs, no costumes. Fancy shows are for closers. Only heavenly adjudicators who want to talk shit can come on when we lose.
Speaking of Joe, I assume you got a text from him.
Actually, no. I'm not too surprised, honestly. What else is he gonna say that he didn't say last week? Well, if you tuned in to see me eat another slice of humble pie, here you go. Man, I like making fun of you, but this just isn't fun. You're fucking pathetic when you lose. No one wants to make fun of someone who's fucking pathetic.
Indeed. You lack that usual pizzazz that makes you the league's heel. You need to step it up.
Well, that was the idea coming out of week 10, but now missing 2 major pieces without a great way of getting them back, we're just gonna have to figure something out. But don't you worry, give me a couple weeks and I'll be back in the talking shit business in no time. Late losses in matchups I really shouldn't lose are kind of my thing. But you wanna know what else is my thing? This fucking belt right here is my thing. I saw someone saying Gilded the other day, no one remembers how many losses you had if your name is on the trophy at the end. And it's true. Winning week 10 is nice. Winning week 17 is the most important goal. Well, that's good. Because just know, if you take a third L in a row next week, I'm coming in here with a new song. I have no idea what it'll be, but it will definitely tank the ratings, so you better win. I know you'll have to write the words and you don't want to. Better light a fire under his ass then. Fuck. Fine. I need the incentive. Anyway, for Jimmy and Morty, I'm Von Murder, and oh hell, I almost forgot to give the boys props for drubbing the Giants.
Yeah, but it was the Giants. Was that really noteworthy enough to interrupt the close?
Fair enough. See everyone next week. Ha ha!